Hello. Welcome to the Funky Marketing Show. After a long break of like 2 or 3 months, we are back with a guest that is somebody that I'm following on LinkedIn. Gabriel, I didn't ask him about the surname. We'll get into that. But he's running a LinkedIn ad agency that delivers results and basically creates the fuel for hypergrowth companies. And we're going to get into all that. But before we get into that, you know what is the time? It's the time to to play that funky intro. So let's get into that. I gotta start showing guests because they all been telling me that they are dancing while this is going on. Gabriel, welcome to the show.
I was dancing. I was totally dancing. It's a totally danceable beat.
Yeah, I think it's not really funk, but it's a good one that gets you in the mood.
I'm guessing the license was free.
Probably. I have no idea. Look, like we were really lucky because like the guy who was actually helping me with all these video materials. Basically, I wanted to have something that is a little bit more like funk because like everybody started to do the same things. So we said, okay, when we repurpose the videos, we know that we are coming out of the old school TV. And that was the way we, differentiated at the time, old school TV frame. But then, like for the full episode, we said, okay, we need to come up with the intro. So we found this one, and then basically we found the same theme for the website.
Mm-hmm.
So we said, okay, it's the same. So let's just do the website. And basically, the website has even not all the photos are changed. They came with a theme. So it's kind of interesting how we were lucky with that.
Cool.
So tell us a few words about yourself, and please tell me how do you pronounce your surname. I'm usually good at guessing. So it will be Ehrlich.
Yeah, that's how you pronounce it. Yeah, it's Ehrlich. Did you ever see the show Silicon Valley?
Yeah. I'm just thinking, where is it coming from? Because it seems like I know it.
So there's a guy there, Ehrlich Bachman. So it's not from that, but the name itself is German in origin. I think it means like honest man or something like that. So yeah. Ehrlich in Hebrew you would say Ehrlich.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was explaining to the people here because I told you that I know like a couple of things in Hebrew, because like I know to say echad, shtaim, shalosh, arba, chamesh, shesh, and then they were like, "What are you doing with the language? With your tongue? How are you doing that?"
So first of all, thanks for having me on. I'm also a big fan of you, and I love the content that you're putting out there on LinkedIn. I like the style and the substance as well. So it's an honor for me to be on your show. A little bit about myself. I live in Tel Aviv, Israel. I'm the founder CEO of a LinkedIn ads agency called Remotion. We're about 15 people. And I'll tell the story of that in a bit. I moved to Israel from the US when I was a kid. I was 12 years old when we moved to Israel. And I live in Tel Aviv ever since. I have 3 kids. What else can I say? That's about it. I love B2B marketing.
Not a small thing to do and to have.
Yeah, it feels very normal, but it's not small. So a little bit about my story, how I kind of got here. I've been in online marketing pretty much my entire career. You know, when I was 22, I opened a bar and I closed the bar, same age. And that took the biggest lesson that I took out of that was that I wanted to be involved with, like, I got really burned from being in a brick and mortar, like I was 22 years old, it was the early 2000s. And, I really felt the disadvantage of being in a brick and mortar, and I got a job working for a very early pornographic website, who I will not share their name, but I was working in customer service. One of my very
Nice.
first
The guy that I'm working with will be so happy to hear that.
And that for me was like an aha moment where I was like, wow, this business is here in Israel, but the customers are all over the world and the girls are all over the world. And, there's something interesting going on here. This was 2004. And that was pretty much my first job. And I got into affiliate marketing after that, and really kind of bounced around the digital marketing ecosystem here in Israel. And eventually ended up working for a pretty, sorry, there's some sirens in the background. I hope it's not bothering anybody.
All good.
I ended up working for a pretty medium-sized digital marketing agency, about 60 or 70 people here in Tel Aviv that were working with all sorts of companies, but they brought me in to help mostly with the B2B. And for me, it was kind of like an aha moment where a lot of the digital marketing knowledge that I'd accrued over the years combined with B2B, and I sort of started to realize, okay, wow, there's something new going on here. This is really interesting. And this was 2012, 2013, early days of like inbound marketing, and HubSpot was getting really big, and Neil Patel was really big. And, I just was like, okay, I think I found what I should be doing. And I was very fortunate to have some really incredible clients at the time, companies that you might be familiar with. Outbrain were one of my clients, if you're familiar with them. And a company called Datorama, who later sold to Salesforce. And I got to really experience for the first time working at an organization and watching these B2B, like basically being involved in building this stuff from scratch, like usually as an employee, you don't really get to see it. And you just kind of, you're there and clients come and clients go. And I got to have a seat at the table and actually be able to help build it, and make stupid mistakes and learn and figure out what was working, and Google and Facebook. And it was my time there where I sort of raised my hand. I was like, hey, what about LinkedIn? Shouldn't we be doing stuff for our clients on LinkedIn? And, the B2B aspect of that company was really small. They mostly worked with large, local companies like car dealerships and banks and insurance companies and stuff like that, and telcos. And so the B2B, even though it was, interesting, it wasn't that interesting to them. And so eventually,
which year was that when you
this
started
was
thinking
around
about
2014,
LinkedIn?
2014, 2015.
That's actually, I think, way before many of the now LinkedIn agencies, LinkedIn ads agencies, and everybody from B2B start thinking about LinkedIn as a way to go.
Yeah. So, and I don't think it was just sort of being in that place and realizing, hey, this is an opportunity. And I actually had to work hard to find somebody to talk to at LinkedIn, because self-serve wasn't an option yet back then. You had to work through invoices, and it was pretty tough. And they just starting serving the Israeli market. They just had their first hires for the Israeli market. And I was one of the first people they were talking to there. And so when I left and I started doing freelance work and being kind of a one-man show, a lot of the people that were coming to me because of that. Sort of, one of my first clients, I got to them, they posted on LinkedIn, it was somebody I knew from the industry, and he said, hey, I'm looking for somebody with any experience with LinkedIn ads. and there was just nobody there. So I was like, hey, maybe I can help you.
Yeah,
And
a low entry bar, right?
yeah, and that also having that opportunity to really like nobody really. It's not that they didn't care, but they looked at it as an experimental channel, which gave me a lot of room to experiment and a lot of room to try and fail different things and find out, what works, what doesn't work, play around with the targeting and really be able to learn. And I got some really cool opportunities from LinkedIn themselves. They recognized the potential and they introduced me to some really great clients. And it's also here in Tel Aviv, the tech ecosystem is pretty strong. And so everybody kind of knows everybody. And, that was a huge source of new business for me as well. Just people introducing me to other people. And I got really lucky really early on. I got to work with WalkMe. If you're familiar with WalkMe, they're huge. They've become really huge, and they already are IPO'd. They were my first really, really large client. Man, I'm talking about like, 100, 200, $300,000 a month budgets. And this is again, like just when I got started around 2016, 2017. And yeah, that was a game changer for me as well. So first few years, I really just was on my own, enjoyed being, a one-man show, enjoyed being a freelancer, was able to kind of live the lifestyle that provides. And at some point, decided to really double down on B2B and LinkedIn specifically. And around 2019, I sort of laid down the gauntlet and said, hey guys, I'm going to be focusing on building a LinkedIn ads agency. And I'm going to start hiring people. And I'm going to start, looking for clients that are interested in that and not just, full service or full stack, but really that need help there, because I really felt that I'd been able to add a very unique value there. And since then,
just a question, because I'm interested when you start working in B2B.
yeah,
Like, are there some things that you are familiar from B2C that you saw in B2B and said, aha, okay, this sounds familiar, but maybe we can do it differently, or we can extract something from B2C to implement over there?
when I first started working in B2B, I think I didn't know enough about anything to really like. It took a while for things to really click. And when I was working in B2C, it was all about user acquisition, customer acquisition, e-commerce. And, I came from this really, really performance marketing background of like money in, money out, everything is measurable. And at that agency that I was working with, that was the motto. If you can't measure it, it's not worth doing,
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to break that habit. But that happened years later here at my own business, not when I first started working in B2B. But I think just having that mentality, even if ultimately it's not the right mentality for a growing brand, it helped me focus at the time on the things that were driving value. So I think that I wouldn't make that recommendation today to a growing B2B brand and say, only do the things that are measurable. But maybe I would give that advice to somebody starting in marketing to say, hey, you're going to be doing all sorts of stuff, and some of it's going to be good and some of it's going to be bad. At first, you should focus on the things that are measurable. You, not like necessarily the brand, but you as a junior marketer.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think this morning I had a call with a guy working with me, Ehrlich, whom I told, like, you will find a way. If you get enough into the dirt, you will find a way to the strategy to see how are things unraveling on a big level. But first, get into the dirt, measure
Yeah,
things, and
yeah,
see. You create this post, you do this campaign. How does it perform? When you see
yeah.
how does it perform, then you'll see what's actually working. When you know what's working, you will find your way around it and just go wide.
Yeah, and I mean, I love the point like where we're at right now in marketing, in B2B marketing, where attribution is becoming more difficult. We're looking at demand generation, we're looking at brand building, and there's more and more of an emphasis on driving revenue. And I love it. Like, I'm excited about this period because I think it's demanding more of us. And I think that those of us who are interested in solving big problems, it's going to be fun for us. But, the one way that I like to look at measurement, and I like to explain measurement to my clients and to my employees, is say, think about if you're, I don't know, in the cockpit of an airplane. You have lots of instruments that are measuring all sorts of things. And not one of them is going to tell you exactly everything you need to know. It's all things that are kind of giving you a sense of the direction, of the latitude, longitude. Like, if one of them fails, that's probably okay. If all of them fails, you're probably going to be lost, and probably going to crash, right? But and you can still use your senses. You can still use your eyes and your ears, and you can still use your senses to see what's going on. But you won't have as many tools to measure and get a sense of things. So I like to say, don't look at it as the absolute truth. Look at it as another way to take the temperature and see how things are changing.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, it's very much similar to like throwing things out of the wall and see what sticks. But as you get experience, you know which things you're gonna throw at which moment, right? So you don't pick everything from the table. You just pick like 3 things. Let's start with those 3. Then you can move on from that.
Yeah, and the other interesting thing I'm seeing is the more time I spend in this industry, the more I start to ask the question, if a new lead comes to me and we start talking about, what they want to do, a lot of the times they're going to talk in very vague and high terminologies. And I say, okay, what do you want? Do you want leads, revenue? Do you want, do you want people to know? Like, what do you want? And a lot of people don't know what they want. They think they're focused on the activity because, hey, that's what you do, right? I need to do this thing, but they're not sure why they need to do the thing. And I like to get to the bottom of that and say, okay, why are we doing this? What's the point? Is it just to make the CEO happy? What are we trying to do? And with a lot of the times we come up what they say they want is demand generation, but what they actually mean is that they want lead generation. And that might be right, it might be wrong, it might be what they need, it might not be, but as long as we're talking about the same things and as long as we're aligning expectations, it's good. The fun thing begins when they actually say, no, we want to create demand. We want to actually create awareness. And that's when it gets interesting, because when you're running a campaign and you're not measuring leads, you're kind of getting into this territory of, well, this is how marketing works in general. Like when Coca-Cola is running marketing campaigns, they're not measuring leads, but you'd be crazy to think that they're not measuring anything. And you'd be crazy to think that they're not, very, very smart and calculated about what they're doing. And this is how marketing works. And what I love about LinkedIn ads is it allows us marketers to actually, for the first time, I think, in B2B marketing, to be able to run this type of campaign. Because if I'm targeting, marketing people at banks, there was nothing I could do before, really. Not a lot, not as advertising, right? I could maybe go to conferences, I could do all sorts of stuff, but I couldn't actually run a video campaign targeting marketers at banks before LinkedIn.
Yeah, totally agree. Like some industries that were unavailable to us because decisions are being made outside of the spotlight of the digital. We couldn't make an impact on that unless we go offline to a conference when they meet, or or any other offline event. But now it's a little bit different, because if they see us whenever they come online in their channels when they are consuming, and we are speaking what they want to hear, helping them solve problems, change the perspectives, showcasing them all kind of different things depending on the stage where they are, like they will start think about it. And it's not like that we only go to the decision makers, We can go and influence that decision making from all kind of perspectives, not just two, but more than two.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
But tell me to the structure of the team, how you build it, and that at the end. But since we are already into that, uh, tell me a little bit who are you working with right now, and why exactly did you focus on LinkedIn ads?
Yeah.
Okay, you said some things that are the start. You started with LinkedIn, start experimenting. It gives you unique opportunities that not the other platforms are giving
Yeah.
you. But let's get into details.
So when I decided to double down on LinkedIn for a few reasons. And ever since I started, because I had experience working at an agency, I sort of built into my processes a system of always looking backwards and seeing, well, who am I most successful with? And that was the question that I was asking myself. Not even necessarily who am I most profitable with, but where am I making the most impact? And the answer that I kept arriving at were the clients that I'm working with on LinkedIn ads. And that might be because I'm better at LinkedIn ads, or it could be that there was just an opportunity there that I was seizing. But I was seeing it again and again when it was clients where most of what we were doing for them was LinkedIn ads, and the budget was large enough. It was like we're really able to make an impact in terms of like ROI and actually bringing in customers. Whereas when it wasn't so much like that, the impact wasn't as strong, at least with my clients. And yeah, so I decided to do that. So the type of clients that I work with are B2B software companies, really. Like, it's not necessarily software as a service, but any B2B tech company. We've worked with some like solutions, like some consultancies, especially in cybersecurity as well. But I would say 90%, 95% of our clients are B2B software companies, mostly in the enterprise space, mostly targeting large companies, or something about their ICP being primarily targetable on LinkedIn. So, for example, we have one client where they're targeting companies in the US that are like real estate investment companies, meaning they work with investors and then they go and put together projects in real estate. And this wouldn't really be possible to target them on other platforms. Like maybe with Facebook with like a really good lookalike audience, but even then you wouldn't really be able to like fine tune it like on the right people. So LinkedIn, allows us to do that. But yeah, also just anybody who the company size is really important. The job titles are really important. What they're doing at work is really important. So that's mostly my ICP. And then companies that actually have money and they're able to sell. So I try to avoid like startups that are too early stage. As much as I love my early stage friends, it's too soon usually for us to really be able to help. Back when I was a freelancer, I would do it a lot more. I would have the time and the attention to really, hold their hand and get to that spot. But it's not possible right now.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like something that I've been through, like in the first, I don't know, like year and a half of Funky Marketing. I was trying not to get into too much advertising because like I wanted to cover different aspects of demand, and then I can move into that part. But like it require so much different types of work, and then I needed to get into some of the companies as a fractional CMO to actually solve the processes and set up the things. And I didn't want to be like everybody else in the sphere. Like we have refined labs. I didn't want us to do and go to do the same things. But like you eventually end up where the money is, right? When you have all the resources to come up with full strength and leave the company uh, as much as you can. Basically, it comes up to that.
Yeah. That's absolutely the case. And so you asked how we're structured. So it's mostly campaign managers. I would say, my first hire was another campaign manager, and I was, trying to basically teach him how to run campaigns on LinkedIn. I got somebody
Do,
with
do you
some.
teach them from zero, or you are able right now to find people that you can
I
actually
teach them from
hire?
zero. So, yeah, right now,
Hmm.
the people that we're bringing in, the people that I'm most successful with are people that I'm teaching from scratch. And in fact, I'm actually usually avoiding people with too much experience, because it means that I'm going to have to teach them, like reteach them. And a lot of people
Yeah.
are resistant to that. And also, one thing I've always had a challenge with is taking people from B2C and teaching them how to do B2B. I find it almost impossible. Like, it's so difficult for me to do that, because it's such a different mentality. And I love it when people are saying, there's no B2C or B2B, it's all B2Human, it's all what. I'm like, then why am I having such a hard time transitioning people from B2C to B2B? This is bullshit. Like, it's
Yeah.
very difficult. It's such a different mentality. Um,
There are
and
so many variables that affect B2B decision making that
yeah,
B2C is not aware. And it's not just let's just move and implement all those things. You need to know the industry, the way the buying process goes.
I think it's more instinctual than that. You said you played basketball, right? Like, if you have been playing a game for a long time, imagine suddenly they change the rules of basketball. It's the same ball, players, whatever, but like the rules change to the point where, I don't know, you can't run, you can only walk, and you can't dribble.
Yeah.
People that were trained to play a certain way, they're going to have a hard time transferring this. But the people who you teach them how to play like that, they're actually going to play much, much better than everybody else. So when you change the rules of the game for somebody in the middle of the game, it really throws them off. And that's what I feel like it is for B2C and B2B. It's
Yeah.
not just that it's different, it's that it feels different. It's the timing is different. What you're checking and when you're checking it, and the processes. If you think about like running a Google campaign, right? A B2C Google campaign versus a B2B Google campaign. Of course, great copywriting is great copywriting, right? And great landing page is a great landing page, right? Yeah. But what are you checking? When are you checking it? How are you making decisions on what to change? What are you looking at? What if what you really care about are opportunities, and some Google campaigns are only going to be bringing you 4 opportunities a year? How do you
Yeah.
how do you make a decision? And you have to kind of know how to work with that as a B2B marketer, to say, okay, well, I'm making assumptions here that are not data driven. I'm making assumptions that, hey, if they're searching for this keyword and they're converting them on this landing page, I'm like 90% sure that I want to spend $1,000 on that lead. I don't care how much I have to spend. I'm going to get that traffic. And that's so different from B2C. It's
Yeah.
just such a different mindset, and it doesn't exist there. Nobody's
I
going to say,
mean,
I'm going to just.
you've probably seen this as well, but how scared are people who are been doing B2C advertising campaigns? They come to B2B and they see the cost per lead.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
I've seen
yeah,
people shaking,
yeah,
because it's too much.
yeah.
It costs too much.
And it really is a mentality thing. And I'm saying, hey, guys, if you're selling shoes and the shoes cost $200, yeah, if you see a $20 click, you should be shaking. But if you're selling $20,000 a year software solutions and you see a $20 click, or you see a $200 lead, or you see a $1,000 lead, who cares? Okay, if it works, who cares? You need to be doing the right things. You need to be getting at the right people. And our challenge in B2B is getting at the right people. That's the end, obviously the message and all that. But like, before any of that, you have a challenge of getting to the right people. Um, so campaign managers. So we have right now, I think, about 8 campaign managers. One of my first hires was a HR manager, actually, which is very difficult. Difficult. Very different from most agencies. They usually wait with that. I sort of realized very early on, as an agency, people are my product. So HR is like a product manager, It's
Well
really
done.
that.
Well done.
Helping me shape the culture has been a game changer for us in terms of making sure that we have the right people with the right attitude, the right mentality, and making sure that they are taken care of. That while I'm running as fast as I can to get us where we need to go, there's somebody that's looking and making sure that everybody's smiling. I thought that was really important. We also have somebody who's responsible for all of our reporting. She connects with supermetrics and data visualization and all that stuff, so that we have really cool reports. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah,
And there's me.
sounds nice.
Yeah.
Sounds
I
nice.
used to I used to have an account manager, a couple of account managers, and I had a big problem there actually because
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you. Are you talking with clients or the campaign managers are taking over that part?
also I'll explain. So when I was working at that larger agency, the way they were structured was they had PPC department, SEO department, studio, content, and account managers, and strategy, whatever. And the account manager was like the glue, bringing everybody together, running the meetings, putting the presentations together, all that stuff. And I thought that when I got big enough, I should also be bringing in account managers, and I hired a couple, and it didn't work out. And looking back, I realized that the reason it didn't work out, and this should have been obvious to me, was that we're a specialty agency, meaning the person that they are talking to, the client, they want to talk to the specialist. They want to talk to the person who really understands what we're doing. And unless we're doing 4 or 5 different things or 3 different things, and you need sort of this person to be the glue, like kind of a project manager to bring everything together and be that one point of contact. Otherwise, it's much better to have the campaign manager talking to the client. And so what we have like more juniors and seniors and team leaders. And so it's the seniors and the team leaders who are talking to the client. The juniors are there and they're learning. It takes a little while before they have the confidence and the expertise to actually lead the conversation. But yeah, if you're on the account, you're on the call. Is basically the rule.
I like that. I like that. Basically, it's like the thing that we are talking about these days a lot, especially on LinkedIn, about the buying experience.
Yeah.
Because you got sold by SDR, then the AI takes over, and then you are closing. So like you talk with 2, 3 different persons, but in this way, the guy who is responsible for the company, this is the guy you are talking with, and that's it.
Yeah, and in terms of how it works, I'm usually the first person they talk to in on a new business call, or either me or somebody else here, and we work through all the details. Part of the setting expectations that and sometimes they ask, "Hey, are we going to be working with you?" And I said, I wish I had time to work with all my clients. I don't have that anymore. But the way it works now is it's like layers of impact, right? So I realized that I have the most impact at first. So I'm going in, part of the strategy, putting it all together. So I'm very involved in the first week or 2 of any new client. I'm very I'm helping to even hands-on put campaigns together, and it helps me also understand the client better later on. And I'm doing that usually alongside one of my most senior campaign managers. After about a week or 2, and I see, okay, the hard part, the really figuring stuff out, who we should be targeting and what we should be, we figured that out. Okay, I'm handing it off to the senior campaign manager, and they're bringing in a partner from the juniors to work alongside, and then they'll run in parallel for a month or 2 months or 3 months or 5 months even, until things are stable and they're looking good and we're in a good place, and then hopefully we can hand that off to the more junior guy to maintain it and make sure it's good. And the senior guy is kind of coming in once a month or once every few weeks, checking in. And I'll still come in usually once every quarter, or if there's if there's a big change there or something like that, when it requires my attention.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah.
So here comes the most difficult question I can ask somebody as I think about it. So how do we scale companies from startup to scale up and then further on what are some things that, because you work with a lot of companies that started from startup, moved to
Yeah.
scale up, and then they
Yeah.
are growing further.
Yeah.
What are some things that you are seeing from client to client that we can talk about?
I wish I could take the credit for it. I've worked with so many companies over the years, and the ones that I see, scale up, it's so much more than what we're doing, and it's even more than what marketing is doing. It's everything to get like it. I believe truly it starts with the CEO and leadership, CEO, CMO, CFO. If they don't get it, if they don't get how all the pieces are supposed to work together, nothing that we do will make a difference. We can get the best leads in
Great.
the world, it won't make a difference. The biggest challenge that our clients need to crack, that if they don't crack it or we don't help them crack it, they don't get to the next level, is taking the leads and working with the SDRs. Like if that isn't done, if they don't figure out how to work with, like, how their SDRs should be working leads, how they should be reaching out, how they should be, when they should be reaching out, if at all, what they should be saying, how they should be interacting. If they don't figure that part out, it doesn't matter what we do. We can do the best marketing, the best advertising, the best leads, and those will not turn into conversations, to meetings, to opportunities, to sales. It just won't happen. And that's, I would say, 50% of the time that it doesn't work because of that. Maybe even more than 50%. It doesn't work because of that. Sometimes they have a deeper issue of like product market fit. Sometimes they have a deeper issue of some other stuff, management or competition. It's a whole big world out there. But when that part doesn't work, and I've found out like some crazy stuff, right? Like, we're working for 6 months, and we have a meeting, and they come in, they say, hey, it's shit. Like, the leads are not converting into opportunities. What's going on? And we start digging into the CRM, and we're like, well, here, look at this. This is a great lead. What happened here? Oh yeah, and you get some excuse or something like that, or oh yeah, they didn't reply. Okay, wait, how many emails did you send? This is a great lead. Why didn't you, like, this is your ICP. This is who you should be going after. You just reached out once, and that's it. Like, so
yeah, that happens a lot. I mean,
yeah.
I'm seeing it in a couple of companies that I took over as a fractional CMO in another company, and like I was seeing like leads are coming, it's happening. Then I look at the CRM like to figure out what's happening, because they have the sales team and the guys seems to be working well. And I said, like, I don't see any data about those leads coming from LinkedIn. What's happening with that? And like nobody knows. Like the CEO says, oh, maybe we can send them a newsletter. What? Like that doesn't seem like,
It doesn't
that's
work
just
like that.
one-off action, and it won't do us anything. So I try to reach out to the guy who is leading the sales team. He was on vacation. He came back from vacation and said, like, look, I was on vacation, so for 2 weeks nobody did anything for those leads. Okay. But I check out if they are ICP or no, and then I just delete them if they are not the ICP. Is that the answer you're looking for? And I was like, no, but that gives me the answer if I should care further or no. Usually, in those kind of situations, should I go further than this guy and ask more deeper questions? But it happens a lot. Let leads keep coming, and nobody gets the feedback. Are those leads okay or no? Why they are not okay? What can we optimize based on that? So usually, marketing needs to ask questions about, are we getting the right leads?
Yeah.
Are you closing them at which percent? How are things going on, and so further. Sorry for interrupting.
No, it's 100%, and it's like so much. It's that, like, when I've seen when we have these startups where they get that, because the leads are out there. We can get leads. If they can't have the conversations with them, then forget about it. And the other big, it's funny, but like, the way that people are measuring, and like it's not even attribution, but I've seen, and I'm sure you've seen this, like companies that are using HubSpot versus Eloqua or something shit like that,
Mm-hmm.
right? For some reason, every client, every company that I ever worked with that uses something like Eloqua, some like really like not good marketing automation tool, something is missing there, and it just doesn't really like translate to performance. And I'm sure that there's just a lot getting lost in travel. Like, it wasn't built, those tools, and this includes Marketo as well. Like, unfortunately, I would say Marketo, Eloqua, Pardot, they were not built to do what you and I are doing. They were built for other stuff. They were built for
Yeah.
like 10 years ago to send emails in cadences. That's what they were built for. They were not built to be your marketing attribution tool. And they just do it really, really poorly. And we end up missing a lot of information. And so I think that's a big part of it as well. And then I'd say the third thing, and maybe this is sort of like the thing above all things, is mindset. It's mentality, and having the leadership and having the people in an organization with the right mentality of understanding what are the right things. And it's not just like strategy and tactics and knowing, it's having, I would say, the wisdom to look at inbound, all of inbound holistically. For example, it's having the maturity to understand that you can't measure everything, that things are going to be, mysterious a little bit, but you have to do things anyway. And and having also a growth mentality as well. Like the best companies that I've worked with, the best clients that I've worked with, it's always up. It's always up and to the right in terms of budgets, growth, new things, growing the teams, growing the channels, trying new things out. It's never like, all right, we scaled up to $100,000 budget. Oh, okay, next quarter we're going to scale back down to 30. Okay, it's not because it was a failure. It's because, hey, we need to make adjustments to the Excel sheet to make our investors happy. And I feel that those companies that I've seen be the most successful, it's not like that. It's like this. It's just growing, and there could be it could be that could be for other reasons, right? It might not be because of that. It might be that companies that are successful are just growing, but it's part of that as well. One other thing that I can think of, when it works really well, it works really well. Like, we're running our campaigns, and yeah, maybe we have to help them with SDR or something like that, but you kind of start to see pretty early on, like, some very strong signals of success. Something is working much better than benchmark. That's sort of what I like to say to client. Like, here are the benchmark numbers. This is benchmark cost per lead, benchmark lead to meeting ratio. Here are the benchmarks. The most successful companies will have one of those KPIs significantly outperform the other benchmarks because there's just going to be something very strong there. And it could be the product market fit, it could be the sales team, it could be the marketing, it could be the brand, but something is going to be really, really strong. One thing. And if everything is average, the company is going to be average, and they might get to succeed and get to the, maybe even IPO or something like that. But those like blockbuster companies, something is incredibly good.
Yeah, that's a great insight. And I totally agree. You can see it can be just one thing. It doesn't have to be like two
Yeah.
or three things, but it can be
Yeah.
one thing that is exceptionally good, or it has intent to be exceptionally good. From the start,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be, but there's a spark
Yeah,
over there.
exactly.
So let's get into a couple of things that is actually working now on LinkedIn. I think that can be useful for people. I had Justin Rowe coming in a couple of months ago, talking about scaling the agency focus on LinkedIn. They spend a lot on promoting their own agency. That's how they learn. But I also develop a product which is like scheduling campaigns. And what he told me is basically they try to get people at first to the website and then diversify and go vertical in a lot of different directions through the retargeting ads.
That's an interesting tactic. So what it kind of depends on the vertical. What we like to try to do, we actually the first thing that we try to do when we're working with a new client is we actually try to find that thing that is exceptional, right? If it's a piece of content, like we go through their website and we try to like curate what they already have, and we try to find, is it maybe the product images, are really cool. Maybe they have really great gated content. Maybe they have really great ungated content. What do they have? And we try to test it out kind of rapidly and find what are the things that really stand out. And sometimes you're surprised. Like they have a blog post that gets like a 5% CTR. I'm like, okay, there's something here. I don't know what gets DevOps guys excited at night, but this probably is it. So let's build on that. And because it's when you have a 5% CTR, you're going to get really, really, really cheap clicks, and you can use that for retargeting, and you can do all that stuff. Or if they have a piece of gated content, this is where I sort of like, I'm agnostic. I don't know. Like I'm going in there. I don't know what this audience, unless I know the audience already really well, because I've worked on it before. Like I don't know exactly what they're going to respond to. I don't know how they're going to respond to this brand. Maybe they don't like the brand. Maybe the brand isn't good, so we shouldn't put as much emphasis on it. Maybe the brand is incredible and we can use all of the elements. So I'm really trying to figure out what's working really, really well, and then I lean into that. Usually we find one or two things that are able to get us leads at a decent cost, or better than decent cost. And
Yes.
then the
So
second,
basically, from the start, focusing on the strongest thing that the company has.
yes, I'm trying to find that. I'm trying to use that to get leads at the best cost. I'm trying to find two or three of those things. And then what I'm trying to do is compare which of those things is the best in terms of getting meetings, right? So a very fluffy piece of gated content using a lead gen form might get us the cheapest lead, but it's probably going to have the lowest conversion rate to a meeting. Whereas maybe, I don't know, an on-demand webinar about the product can be a little bit more expensive, but also pretty good, and a much, much higher ratio there. And so, I try to figure out where can we get those meetings at the best cost. And the other thing I'm trying to do then is to cross them, right? So if somebody is downloading, somebody's sort of to cross market, not remarket, but cross market. So people who are engaging with the content, I'm sending them to the demo. People who are engaging with the demo, I'm sending them to the content. And like I'm thinking about scale as well. Like if this doesn't, like this needs to be something that when it works well, we can do it at 100K, 200K. And it's not that it's not worth it otherwise, but it's what they're going to need eventually if they want to become hyper growth. And that's part of our offering. That's what we're best at. It's identifying the things that not only can get you good meetings and good opportunities and customers, but that will be scalable, that we can do at 50K, 100K, 200K. And you can take to your investors and go, hey, well, we've figured out this thing and we can do that 10 times bigger than this. And that's, especially scale ups, they really care about that.
Love it. Love it. So basically, I would say to everybody listening now, I mean, this is the most useful piece of information that you can get today for some of the things. But as always, I'm always inviting all of you to go back to the beginning and listen to all these things, because in discussions we say a lot, even some things that we are not aware of that can help you to get at least one thing from the podcast and implement it and get results. So one question for the end is an interesting one. I want to ask you, looking at the Israel startup ecosystem, those kind of things, how much does it help to grow a LinkedIn ads agency based in Israel? Then maybe, if it's somewhere in other part of the world.
That's a good question. I mean, first of all, not all of our clients are based in Israel. We have quite a few in Europe and the US. But I think that just there's an advantage to it, there's an advantage to being part of an ecosystem. Meaning, if you have a solution if you're in fintech, you should probably be based in London or in New York. If you have, I don't know, something that has to do with content or video, you should probably be based in Los Angeles, right? So there's something to being where there's a strong ecosystem and a strong community. A lot of my clients, a lot of people that I'm like a really strong connection with. They're people that I worked with in the past, and they worked at a company that we worked together, and we kind of had the same boss, and then they go and they went to work for a startup, and there's a big advantage to that, to being part of a community. You can help people find jobs, and so yeah, I mean, Tel Aviv has a pretty strong tech ecosystem. So yeah, I mean, if I were in anything else, I would want to be where that is, and I'm probably in doing the tech stuff because I'm here. But yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm asking because a lot of people listening to the podcast, like majority of them are based in the US, but then it's Serbia, Croatia, and Germany. Because here we are building also the ecosystem, that's why I'm asking, just to kind of get the perspective of it. And I feel like that is all. Sorry, go on.
So I mean, there's some really cool stuff happening in Europe right now, and I think it's an exciting time to be in tech in Europe. Berlin is really exciting right now. The Nordics are really exciting, but I mean, I would definitely, if I were in, say, Serbia or Croatia, you probably need to diversify and not just work on tech. And I would definitely look at what are the other, like in Tel Aviv, the strongest industry is high tech. This is this is where the money is. This is where investments coming in. This is where people who are trying to, I guess, be in the best companies. That's where they're going. And so I don't know if that's the case in Serbia, but I'm sure that there are other industries there that are interesting.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to tech, it's like gaming, blockchain. I guess that's also, it was tech dev outsourcing, but now it's slowly beginning to turn to product.
Yeah.
which is good, and because we're not that cheap anymore, and there's a lot of tech knowledge. So the shift is started to happen, and I'm happy to be a part of it and look at those things. Like the company where I was a fractional CMO for the last, I don't know how long it was, like 6-7 months, but basically I didn't know that they exist until I went to the meeting with them. They already had 80 people. That's how fast things are happening these days, and it's really exciting and interesting space to be in.
I agree.
One thing that I didn't ask you, that we didn't talk about, and that you think that needs to be said. It's always an interesting thing. I used to ask people, like, give me a question for the next guest, and then I forgot to write down the question. So I said, I'm not asking those things again.
One thing that we didn't talk about. Good thing. I mean, one of the things that I'm thinking about a lot lately, I think we did touch on it, is sort of the opportunity in building a brand today in B2B. And I mean, this is just something that I'm becoming kind of obsessed with. I think it's fascinating. And the story there for me is like I mentioned, I came up doing performance marketing, PPC, classic, like money in, money out. And I really, really, really started to understand the value of building a brand when I was doing it for myself. And I started to post on LinkedIn, and I started to see, that people are actually how it works, like what really with my, with my own hands, understanding the value of, oh, brand is just a reputation. Okay, because when people need a LinkedIn agency, they're going to ask somebody. And if I'm doing a good job of staying top of mind and posting a lot and posting about LinkedIn and B2B marketing so people see that I care about this and I'm knowledgeable about this, there's a pretty good chance that they'll remember, hey, oh, Gabriel, you should talk to him. He has an agency for B2B marketing, or an agency for LinkedIn ads. And it sort of came to click to place for me where I'm like, okay, well, that's what branding is basically. And so I've been reading a lot of books about it, and there's some great ones. And what I really think, and I think that this, I can't overstate this enough, that this is new. This is a new thing, that you could not really build a brand in B2B with advertising and social media until LinkedIn. And so it's all new. And so the talent doesn't know about it that much. People are learning and figuring it out. And we're, you and I, we're kind of on the front lines of this. So maybe we're a little bit more advanced, but we're still kind of figuring it out. It's not like you've done it 20 times, like we're building it together. And I think that I really want to say it's an exciting time to be in B2B marketing, much more than it was maybe 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, I would say even 3 years ago. Things for me, when I saw that things started to change, is when I started funky marketing, I didn't know that I'm going to go into the B2B. Basically, I just had a virtual coffees with like 250, 270 people because I have a lot of connections on LinkedIn. And I saw the gap. And I saw the gap that I can fill in, but through what I know from B2C. And I came in over there. Talking with all those people helped me understand things. And like my second client was Impact Hub Belgrade. So I was the one who was in charge for all of their campaigns to getting startups to the pre-accelerator program. So I get to talk with more startups and just prove my assumptions. And that's what I see. Okay, let's go. And basically communicating all of this stuff, what you say, building a brand. And basically we closed tons of companies and clients in the first 18 months. That's how I attracted people. That's how I attracted companies.
Yeah. Cool.
Interesting. So tell me and the people where they can find more information about you, about the company, and about all the things that you do.
Sure. So, of course, you could check out our website, which is Remotion, REM.
Yeah. We'll attach it below when we publish the episode.
Yeah. Or, of course, my LinkedIn profile. I'm pretty active there. So, Gabriel Ehrlich on LinkedIn. Would love any new Serbian followers. That would be awesome.
Sounds good. Guys, you know where to go. I think a lot of them just checked in the comments, which is interesting because I didn't do this live streaming of recording for a while now, and I was interesting to see who's going to pop up. What is interesting is that, in Restream that I'm using for live streaming this, you don't see the stats from LinkedIn for some reason. And this is where the majority of people are coming to watch, which is kind of interesting, but we see comments. At least that's okay. So guys, first of all, Gabriel, thank you for being here. I'm sure we'll do another episode soon and go more deeper into some of the things. So thank you once again, guys. Thank you for listening to us. Go back to the beginning of the episode. As I told you, listen, write down things, reach out to Gabriel to ask him about specifics. Also, be sure to subscribe to Funky Marketing Show wherever you are listening to this, on YouTube or on any audio podcast platform that you're using. And also feel free to recommend the show. This is the first time that I'm asking this, so it's kind of interesting because I don't like to ask people. Like, we just create the quite high quality content, and that's it. So as the last message for today, just keep it funky. That's all that we say at the end. Bye bye, guys.